Carrier.
Here.
Mrs. Jones.
Here.
Mrs. Mazur.
Here.
Mr. Methvin.
Here.
Mr. Vetter.
Here. Okay, we'll do the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, Danny.
Thank you.
And first up, we have a presentation. Ms. Carpenter.
Oh, sorry. Mrs. Hoffman was wrong. Was that the notice?
We can do it anyway.
No, it's okay. I'm flexible.
Sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're okay. I'm good with being on the spot. That's kind of part of what I do. So I'm Brittany Carpenter. It's nice to meet everyone finally. I'm the first Hicksville school social worker. So I've been serving our students, staff, families, and community as a whole. So looking at overview of family served 12, 8, 6, it might not look like a lot, but social work is one of those professions where you really can't capture the amount of services that you're doing based on a number, because within these numbers are the hours that I'm spending with researching what resources are available, whether or not they can access those resources because of their insurance or other barriers that I'll try to address ahead of time, whether that's transportation barriers. For example, especially in a rural community, which I've been a part of with serving before in other professions, transportation is a huge barrier. So I've actually taken people to appointments to make sure that they're accessing the resources that they've already aligned ahead of time. I'm there to meet them, to make sure that I'm advocating, alongside them, to make sure that they're whoever they are getting resources from are understanding what the behaviors are, what the problems are, and then moving forward what my role is going to be and making sure that we, assist with that plan of success for that student or that family and going on from there. So it might not look like a lot, but really there's hours with communicating with the families, with the staff, with the community resources, and then accessing those resources. For another example, trying to align different resources, I called 13 different places and just wasn't having any luck. And finally, when I went to another meeting in Defiance County for just an opportunity to network with people, they had kind of aligned me with someone else to call. And so I called them, and then that connection led me to another one that's actually going to be followed up with again. So it's all about, figuring out what's going to work for them, how it's going to work for them, and then following up with them along the way to make sure that they're accessing the resources, understanding what those resources include, and then seeing if there's anything else available that they can have access to. Assistance for staff. So it was, I think, my first week on the position, and they said, hey, do you want to do this presentation at our upcoming staff PD? And I said, sure, because that's the kind of person I am. So I did a training on de-escalation strategies for our students and everything, because I think it's really important to know just what kind of impact our staff have with the relationships that they build with the students, and then just little things that they can do within their classroom to help manage not only individual students, but their classroom as a whole. So that was one thing that I put together at the beginning of the year. And then also resources. I worked closely with some of the teachers with going over different resources that are available within their classroom for their families. They've came back and forth with me to help me with talking with their families through different things. On parent-teacher conference night, I spoke with several families to kind of talk to them about what resources were available, and also just an overview of some issues that we were dealing with at school, what those issues looked like at home, and then what we could do on our part, but also how we can help them at home too. So media mechanics for problem solving, that's something new that we've been doing, especially on the elementary side, and that's where you just talk to the board. You're going over, what the actual problem is, more information revolving around the problem, like where is it occurring, how often is it occurring, are there other factors that we're maybe not seeing all the time, and then a brainstorming session where we all come together as a team and then just do, you know, an overall idea of what we think we could try next, and then we do an action plan at the end where people are assigned different things to put into place to make that action plan successful, and then follow up after that. School to home liaison, I kind of talked about that. I'm more than happy to reach out to anyone, whether it's individually or with a teacher, a speaker, or anything like that. Collaboration with guidance counselors and administration. I think we've been doing a really great job, the guidance counselors and myself, of talking through different students. They know the students, you know, for the most part, better than I do. So I've been going to the guidance counselors and saying, like, what would you like me to do to help you with this? Or what is it that I can do, you know, on my end, and things like that. And also just, you know, making sure that we're seeing all the different perspectives that are coming together with play with the students and whatever it is that the concerns are. And also administration. I've been working closely with Mr. Slattery and Mrs. Kaufman and Mr. Highlander to make sure that, you know, we're touching base and everything's, you know, being kept in the loop, and any student issues and concerns or family issues and concerns, I'm easily available to help with. Community resources, so I am from Michigan. So sorry. But
This is not the week to tell us.
you guys have ponds, we have beautiful lakes, it's just a thing. Don't hold it against me. But so yes, I'm getting used to the community resources and things like that, since I'm, you know, half my family's from Ohio, but I'm new to Ohio and working in Ohio. But I love doing that. I've been to several meetings. I've been to the Drug Abuse Prevention Coalition meeting, where we now have like brought back a student council involving that, where the students actually go to Defiance now to meet, and then they'll be doing several different projects throughout the school year, because peer influences and peer leadership is the most powerful form of making an impact, especially as the kids get older too. So I've been going to different things that, like, basically anything that I can discover, to meet people, to investigate what kind of resources are out there, what is available to us, how to access those resources, what are some possible barriers to those resources, and how can I maneuver around those barriers, because I don't take no for an answer. And then also, you know, when I went to a couple of different things, they said, well, you should reach out to this person, or you should reach out to this person or this organization. And so I've had some people come and meet with me here at Hicksville Schools too, and I've just kind of gone over what are the main concerns that I'm seeing, or that the guidance counselors and administrators are seeing, and like, how can I help, and what can my role be, and what can their role be with making sure that we're addressing those concerns and issues. We just actually did, there's a new homelessness grant that we put together, and Mrs. Kaufman helped with, and Mr. Ruin helped with, and then there was also a grief initiative grant that was brought to our attention, and we just applied for that, and we'll be receiving funding for that, and it's going to be a great resource because it offers, I think we're going to get a total of about $1,500 to have a lending library of different books and resources if a student or even a staff member or family in our community loses a loved one, different things that they can access and things like that. So if we don't have funding for something, I'm going to try to dig through it and find a funding source too. So looking ahead, gonna work on the crisis protocol that I kind of brought up to Keith at the beginning of the school year. So at the last organization I was with, they had a crisis protocol, and it went through anywhere from threats to suicidal ideation and suicide and accidents and medical issues that resulted in death, and they had communications already put together for that. And since we have a bilingual community too, it's just nice to have communications that are ready to go and that we can kind of alter, and that way everyone that, you know, is impacted by that can be, you know, caught up to speed on what's going on, how we're addressing it, how we're moving forward through that, and things like that. MTSS, it's a multi-tiered system of supports. That's basically our positive behavioral intervention supports. We're going to continue working on doing a school-wide system with working with administrators and the guidance counselors and then staff to put something even, you know, more in place with addressing behaviors and things like that. and then just more opportunities for outreach. I'm always looking to network and see what we can bring back to Hicksville and have our kids be a part of, because they're members of the community, whether they're in kindergarten or they're a senior. And so it's really important for them to know the impact that they can have from the time that they're barely getting up those bus steps until the time that they're driving. So that's really things that I'm looking forward to working on as the years go by. Any questions?
Recently, I was in a meeting with Mrs. Carpenter and Mrs. Kaufman and Mrs. Smith, and I don't know who all was there, and there was a parent there as well, and how Mrs. Carpenter operated during that meeting was pretty impressive for that family who really needs someone to be that advocate for them. And it was I'm glad I was there and was able to see that, because we've had some great success with that family because of the decisions that were made during that meeting, which was collective with all of us, but certainly Mrs. Carpenter being that family's advocate and helping them get to appointments that are necessary for the children, and it's making a huge difference for us here at school then with those kiddos. So we really appreciate you doing that and all the work that you spend with not just that particular family, but all the other families that I know you've been visiting. So appreciate that.
And I'll add on something to that. That meeting that day, found out that there was an appointment late in the evening, and she changed her plans just so she could attend that meeting, or that appointment, to be the advocate for that kiddo. So
I'm happy to meet them wherever they're at, literally and physically and everything else. And I am always open to a chance. The reason I love social work is because no day is the same. It varies from time to time. Sometimes I'll have things on my schedule that I have to maneuver and reschedule and prioritize because of a crisis or whatever, but I'm always up for it, and I'm always excited to be helping the students. I love seeing the student. I usually do drop off and pick up and everything, especially for the elementary side. And I just love being able to have that and being in one school. This is the first time I've ever been in one school. Usually I'm in home visits and up to 5 different schools all during the same week. So I've been very grateful to be in this community and in this school.
I'm so excited to have you. I think it's absolutely necessary, and we talked before at our last board meeting, and Keith and I talked down at Capitol Conference. We can no longer educate kids without dealing with all their emotional issues, whether it's at school or at home, and it's such an integral part now, and it's so needed. So I'm so grateful that you're here, and very excited to see what you're going to be able to do.
I would love to see you speak at Rotary or at other things in the community for people in the community to get to catch what you do.
Mm-hmm. That impact is lost on a lot of people.
Yeah, and I really think that that would be a couple of those groups would be people that have other people in their systems that could understand, and because I think people think a social worker at school. I just don't think they have any idea.
Well, and honestly, people hear social worker and they automatically think bad, and
Yes.
I get that. So when I was calling families at the beginning of the school year that we had identified as having more needs, I was just saying, "Hi, my name is Brittany Carpenter. I'm with Hicksville Schools, and I'm calling to see if you need any supports and resources." I honestly wasn't identifying myself as a social worker. I know that people are going to have to get to know me and build relationships with me and things like that, but I'm very upfront and direct with people. I like to tell them right away, this is what I'm here to help with. These are some barriers we're going to run into, and these are how we're going to move through those barriers as we're working towards this goal and everything. And I'm happy to go to home visits. I think I've been to 6 or 7 different homes. I'm happy to sit down and fold your laundry with people, as we talk about what it is that they're struggling with at home too, and I will tell people, I have my oldest, love him to death, but he's got some high needs. So personally, I've been through it, And so I'm not afraid to share those things and what's worked for us, what hasn't worked for us, and that like I'm just like anybody else except for, you know, I went to school for social work. So
I think that what Linda said is very important to kind of clue the community in on what we are going through in the education world today. It wasn't like that when most of us went to school, and now we see the mental and emotional health issues are strongly impacting how well our kids can do, not just in school, but in the outside world.
yeah. No, I would be happy to go to any community event whatsoever.
I know, I said here. Kirsten's actually the program tomorrow.
Oh, is she come tomorrow?
She's got her PowerPoint on it.
Yeah, just drag her along. Let's go together.
I pack up easy. I'm used to going all over the place. No, but I really do. I love what I do. I actually, you know, I was originally going for nursing, and I know I have to wrap it up. I'm a talker too. But I was originally going for nursing. I had a full ride scholarship. I had seen births, and I had, you know, helped people with broken legs, and I had helped even do a few stitches. And I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do to help people. And then the more I did my clinicals, I said, well, aren't we going to call them and follow up and make sure they're doing okay? And they're like, well, no, you don't call them. And I'm like, you don't call them to see if they're doing okay? Like, how do you know? And they're like, you don't. And I was like, this is not how I want to help people. I want to be able to call them and say, how are you doing a week or 3 months or a year from now? And so I gave up my full ride and I switched my career service, and I've been loving it ever since. So, and I have students that are older now that have added me to Facebook and will check in with me and things like that. So I love being able to see, you know, someone that I've worked with since kindergarten, you know, turn into an 8th grade student, and then, you know, they're telling me, hey, you know, after I talked to that teacher about some things I was struggling with, they actually, you know, came to me and said, how can I help you? So just because I went to that teacher and I was honest with them and told them I'm struggling, now they're, you know, coming to me and asking me for help. So just being the advocate and empowering and not looking for short-term solutions, but those long-term big picture solutions is what's really important to me.
That element of compassion and engagement is amazing. I think that's going to be a game changer.
Mrs. Carpenter, tomorrow at Rotary, if you're available, you would fit in there nicely with Kirsten and Aaron, because their program won't be that long either. So
Can you call my husband and ask for permission? No.
there'd be plenty of time to do both topics if.
It's during school time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Again, I'm flexible.
Okay.
Hey,
You're
can
not
I say real quick to
tomorrow.
what she's saying too?
Sure.
And I know she said the word resources, it seemed like 1,000 times. A lot of times, you know, at the school, we're trying to fix the kids. And honestly, a lot of the problems are coming in to our school with are from home and from the parents. And that's what's amazing too, is what she's able to do is, you know, we can fix all the kids, you know, we can work with the kids as much as we want. We're not going to fix them because we have to figure out what the root problem sometimes is. A lot of times it's at home. And that's been an amazing impact, having that access to the parents and having that ability to earn their trust and build those relationships. So
And
we
a lot of
appreciate
this,
that.
a lot of what you shared with us wouldn't necessarily be what you would share with Rotary, but what you just shared at the very end, the compassion, the caring, the situations from home, how those impact kids, that kind of stuff is relevant for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it is, and like I was that kid that struggled. You know, a lot of people don't know what's going on behind closed doors, and even me, I struggle with my oldest sometimes, and I'm fully equipped and skilled to deal with him. But I do what I do all day, and then I come home, and he's struggling, and you know, it's just learning. You know, as a parent, and you know, or as a caretaker, what can I do in order to not only alleviate stress for my student or my child or you know, the kiddo that I'm taking care of, but what can I do to take care of myself amidst that? So, yeah, I'm happy to help with any of that.
And she's obviously, you know, she's a very bright lady over there, but she has a bunch of, she said resources, and we talked about resources, but beyond the social work component, she also has a lot of skill in the special needs department. She brings in the social stories. She knows how to work with behaviors. So she goes that her specialties are just endless. So,
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll skip the technology report. Principal reports, please.
You want me to go?
That'd be awesome.
Okay. Well, I will start with elementary, and then Mr. Highlander, since he's not here this evening, I will then read his report as well. This week we are actually doing our COGAT and Iowa gifted testing for 2nd and 6th grade students. From my side, just a huge thanks to Mrs. Montgomery, Mr. Hoffman, and the 2nd grade teachers for helping to make testing just run efficiently and effectively. Last Friday on the 18th, we conducted our first Principals Math Club dance party, and we celebrated 53 new kiddos to the club. And then lastly on mine, Friday, November 11th, we had 105 veterans visit and active servicemen and women to the high school gymnasium for a light breakfast and program. But then 65 of those guests came back into the elementary classroom. It's been a few years since we've been able to do that. So just a huge thanks to the student, staff, and community members that all came together just to honor these individuals. It was an awesome morning. Middle school. Our middle school students put on a spectacular performance at the Huber this past weekend under the direction of Elaine Gherkin and Jennifer Bergman. We had 41 students participate in this year's musical, Fiddler on the Roof Junior, and they all represented Hicksville extremely well with their great talents. Thank you to all of those who came out to support them. In our effort to focus on the Hicksville essentials in the middle school, we recently started highlighting the efforts of our students in a new way. We have started weekly shout-outs for students who have been caught being essential. Mrs. Chamberlain has spearheaded this effort, and each week we ask teachers to be on the lookout for those students who are practicing Hicksville essentials. Each teacher then submits the name of the student and which essential that student was caught exhibiting over the course of the week. So students are given a special shout out at lunch on Friday. Their pictures are displayed on a bulletin board in the main event hallway, and they are entered into a drawing for prizes at the end of the quarter. So be sure to check out that bulletin board to see our students who have earned the Caught Being Essential distinction. And then lastly, our junior high winter sports season officially gets underway this evening with our junior high girls basketball team taking on Edgerton on the road. Junior high boys will play their first game on November 28th at Defiance. Junior high wrestling has their first match at Wayne Trace on December 3rd at 9 a.m. We hope you're able to make it out to some of our junior high athletic events this summer and support our student athletes.
I just want to say really quick on the Veterans Program, I loved the video highlighting all of it. It's so neat to be able to see that, and such good words from the community about that program.
Were you able to see that, Jen?
Yeah, I've gotten all kinds of positive feedback.
Yeah.
Who's next?
All right, rock and roll, right? All right, so on Wednesday, October 19th, our sophomores who are currently taking financial management participated in the annual innovative interviews. Mr. Freeze then on November 11th took the top 10 from that group over to Purdue Fort Wayne in order to find the top 3 from the fall grouping. The top 3, I want to say congratulations to. They are Daniel Fleming, Maria Saunders, and Josie Smith. They will wait now until the spring to meet with the other half of the sophomores in order to compete for the finals in the innovative interview. So congratulations to those 3. And again, we appreciate all of our community support and volunteers that come in and of course conduct the interviews, and for Purdue Fort Wayne for hosting us. Parent-teacher conferences took place on October 20th and 21st. The high school had an average year for attendance, but I know that the elementary and middle school, they had a great turnout again this year. Again, as students get older, they become more independent. I know we've tried different ways to figure out how to improve attendance, but at the same time, with Power School, email, and every which way to communicate independently and effectively, it's just hard to get parents in. Plus, it doesn't help when you have your sectional finals game that night, football going on, everything else. So we have a lot of kids everywhere else but in the school, but we do appreciate all the parents that do come out and the students that come out. I'd say typically we get about maybe 10 to 15% of the high school population. It's usually not much higher than that. On Tuesday, October 25th, Jane Myers, our ESC rep, she led our math department vertical alignment training. That was the second vertical alignment training that she's hosted this year. She did the ELA training back in September. It's actually a really nice opportunity for our teachers who are in the same content areas to get together and focus on kind of their standards, but also share their standards, discuss challenges they see at each grade level. And of course, I hate to say it this way, but sometimes as educators, if you're a 5th grade teacher, you're wondering what the 4th grade teacher is taught. If you're an 8th grade teacher, what that 7th grade math teacher teach. And because you're always looking for an opportunity to improve student competency, and of course, again, have more opportunities to teach your standards and improve test scores. So again, we definitely appreciate Jane Myers for leading those. And I believe our next one is the SPED department in December, I believe.
December 6th.
And they'll be meeting. So we have another one coming up. On Wednesday, October 26th, we had our National Honor Society induction ceremony. Again, congratulations to all those students who joined the ranks of the NHS at Hicksville High School. I believe we had 14 new members this year. On Friday, October 28th, it was the end of the first quarter grading period. In my opinion, this semester, this school year has started off very smoothly. Honestly, from the high school standpoint, behaviorally, we've had an amazing year. Even our teachers are discussing how great our kids have been this year. And academically, I know I typically don't get in too much detail about academics, but I want to point out that we do what's called a grade check for eligibility in the high school side. But we actually run those grade checks every day throughout the entire school year. So we're able to stay on top of these reports of the kids that are struggling academically. I would say typically by midterm, we'll have a good percentage, I'd say close to 10%, which would be 30, 35 kids sometimes having 2 Fs or more academically. And of course, we can work with those kids to make sure by the end of the quarter they're passing their classes. That number never went above 10 this year so far, knock on wood. And I do want to point out why I feel that way. I feel number one, I think the kids are great and the teachers are great. I think that having Mrs. Smith and being our SPED director and working with our IEP teachers, our SPED teachers and the classroom teachers on making sure that these students are receiving the accommodations, modifications, extended time things they need. I think they're receiving that, and I think that the kids are benefiting from that. I think having, our new social worker, the impact she has on these students and the support that they're receiving, it matters. I think that Mrs. Wyman and myself, I know like today, I think I met with 15 different kids based on grades, and I know she does the same thing. I meet with them more from I'm not saying a discipline side, but as the principal calling you down to talk about academics, she's more that support person on that side. But again, working together, we just have a lot of people doing a lot of good things for our kids, and we're seeing it. So I'm really impressed with the start of the school year, and I'm really happy for our students and our staff. Congratulations to the following student athletes. It's been a busy fall. The girls volleyball team achieved their first ever regional appearance. They actually made it to the regional finals, and again, a regional runner-up opportunity. It was awesome. The first district championship, and we were just excited. It was a great season. We're very proud of those young ladies, and it was a fun ride. Kinsey Schrader competed at the state golf tournament for the second consecutive year. She played very well and finished in the top 20 individually. Also, I want to remind everyone, tonight after this game, or after this board meeting, she has a game, and she's, I think, 16 points away from reaching 1,000 points for her career, so we're awfully excited for that individual accolade also. So if you can join us, please join us. The boys cross country team, they had a great year. I know they were a little banged up this year. We were awfully excited going into the season, hopefully looking for an opportunity to make it to regionals as a team. They actually missed it by 1 spot, but they did such a great job. And we had a lot of different student athletes, compete and medal at different races throughout the year. But again, I just don't think we could get healthy all at the same time. A special shout out to Ben Taylor. Ben Taylor's a freshman here at Hicksville High School. He actually made it to regionals this year, and just to our surprise, I believe he ran like a 16:51 at regionals, and he didn't make it to state. And that's like the fastest time in God knows how long. And I think his goal was if you run under a 17:20, you'll make it to state. He ran like a 16:51, and that is flying. So we're awfully excited for Ben being a freshman, and of course, hopefully he can achieve those goals that he has individually moving forward. I want to congratulate all of our fall sports student athletes, but a special shout out to our seniors because a lot of these kids just competed at the on the field and in the gym, on the volleyball court, out there running as fast as they can, golfing, everything that they do for the last time. And that's a tough time for a senior. Your first, last first, as Mr. Dave Blue always says. But we're excited for the winter sports season. We want to thank our fall sports student athletes. Again, good luck to all our winter sports teams and athletes as we move into, the schedules have already started. We had our first girls basketball game last Saturday. We're playing tonight. Boys start this next weekend. Wrestling starts this week. It's a busy time. Future events. Kirsten, sorry, but I'm going to need a replacement on the LPDC committee, so I'm going to be talking to you and Aaron Highlander about that. So the LPDC, we have to have administrators on there. And my last LPDC meeting will be next month, but it's not that difficult. But again, I want everybody to be aware that is our professional development committee for approving, and not only locally but at the state level. A heads up for this piece for the board and Mr. Countryman. As of today, all of my fully evaluated teachers should have their evaluations completed by Christmas break. I actually have all my second rounds scheduled as of today. Of course, we want good weather. That always helps. And of course, everyone stay healthy. The one thing I won't get through is my off-year cycle walkthroughs, which I have to do a scheduled walkthrough with a post-conference. Unfortunately, those are going to have to be completed by the person that follows me next semester. But again, to have all the full observations out of the way, which is what the teachers wanted, I appreciate the teachers being flexible and working with that because typically it's a first semester observation and a second semester observation to do back-to-back in a matter of about a month and a half, 2 months. I mean, that's a lot for everyone involved. I actually spoke about this last week at the 2-hour in-service, but Allen East High School reached out again today. They plan on sending a team up, hopefully in December, to meet with myself and hopefully some other administrators that I can get on board. Again, I can't say enough about Hicksville schools, the Hicksville initiative, everything we've achieved, our report cards, the way we advocate our school. And over my time here, Mr. Countryman will tell you, there was at one point I was getting called out so often we started charging schools mileage and a fee to get us to go present to schools because I was leaving all the time. It's been a couple years because of COVID, I think, but I have worked with a few schools the last few years, and this is another high school coming in, and Allen East is down there near Lima, so they're looking forward to meeting with us and finding out kind of what we do here and how that we can help them with their culture, climate, and of course their report card. Another big thing happening here, and I apologize, there's just a lot going on, and I won't be here much longer, so I want to make sure I cover this stuff, so I apologize. Mandy Wyman and Jeff Schaefer, they will be attending a very important collaboration training with Milwaukee in December. The new graduation requirements, 5th and 9 years, remember that. The tracking in Power School, it's really created some challenges with the seals and everything. And what has happened is, I think a lot of the counselors in the 4-county area have said, how are we going to track this, and not only track this, but share with districts and share with 4-county and stay on top of this, because it's a complicated process. Because every kid, and we talk about Angie and the individualized education plans, the new graduation requirements, the diplomas, it's individualized graduation plans. I mean, kids are all going to graduate based on their strengths. And so we're hoping Milwaukee and Power School can assist all the schools in Northwest Ohio and the 4-county area that they serve in being able to do this efficiently and effectively and be able to communicate it effectively. So originally, it's kind of funny, they told us to send our SPED director, our principal, our guidance counselor, our EMS coordinator, our Power School person, because we all have, we're all a piece of that pie to make this successful. Well, then it filled up after like 10 schools signed up because Milwaukee didn't realize they were sending so many people. There were so many people involved. So we're hoping that an additional training will be provided, but we've definitely stepped back and said, hey, listen, at least send these 2 people in. And I know Jeff and Mandy will come back to us and really assist us in making sure we can accomplish what we can. Our fall testing is coming up on the high school side. That actually does not happen until after Christmas break. And again, we're not worried about the 18 points anymore, but the kids have to, based on graduation requirements, you have to be not proficient anymore, but you have to be, what's the word? I lost it. No, it's not proficient. It's a new word. So it used to be proficient, score 700. Now you can score 685 and you can be adequate. We'll just use that word. I made it up. But anyway, you can be adequate to graduate. So you still have to retest in these certain tests like ELA 2 and Algebra 1 to be eligible for graduation. So that's why we're retesting kids. It's not for points, but it's definitely for the graduation requirements. Then outside of that, I just hope everyone enjoys their Thanksgiving break. Thank you.
Did I see down at Capitol Conference that something about driver's ed or getting your driver's license can now somehow count towards one of your seals?
I heard that rumor because what's happened is there's a huge pushback now from the business and industries because I think there's like it's like a 17% drop in graduating students having their driver's license. And keep that in mind, all of us in this room, of course, I'm going to say I went to Hicksville and small schools around here, it used to be a part of your curriculum or in the school day or, in the summer, it was here, it was local. And we were able to provide that opportunity to earn your license on campus, on site. Well, since they removed that and became an industry and now it's a private sector business, these kids are having to spend $150 to do an online course, and then they have to spend $350 to do driving, and the cost alone has caused a lot of students, not to be capable of even achieving that goal.
Right.
And then, of course, having to do everything in compliance now doesn't help either.
Right.
So I think they're looking to do that, and actually some schools now are talking about bringing driver's ed back. We're just not sure how to do it and how successful it would be. Again, because of the almighty dollar, keep that in mind.
Jeff, is it confident?
Yes.
Proficient or confident?
Yes. We used to be proficient, now you said be confident. But for our report card, the kids need to be proficient. But for graduation, they need to be confident. So keep this in mind again. We're gonna have a bunch of kids graduating, but you're gonna look at our proficiency scores. They may not be good. And you're gonna go, well, how did they graduate? Well, they have to be confident. It's a lower score. Again, it's the way that the state is holding the schools here. And I'm going to say they don't want these kids not graduating. So they're saying, okay, we want these kids to graduate, but the school, the expectation is still here. And I apologize, I can't give you guys back that 11 minutes.
Another thing with that drivers, they have to drive 50 hours with someone. For a lot of kids, that would be hard.
Yeah, and what's amazing too is if they schedule a time and then they miss that time, it's $50 to reschedule just that time you missed. I mean, and again, it's literally that it's become so many hoops to jump through. And a lot of these kids don't have the resources and support to do that. And these kids are graduating, and I know it doesn't seem like a lot, 17%, but they're trapped. I mean, if you don't have your driver's license, you graduate from Hicksville, you don't get a driver's license, where can you walk to? Most gas stations, fast food places. I mean, you're limited options and opportunities, so then it's hard to get out of that.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, I need a motion for minutes and financials.
No, Fort County.
Oh, Fort County, sorry, Danny.
You're, Gallen,
I'm in a hurry to get to that game. I'm sorry.
I know, Jeff cut into my time, I know.
All right. Danny, lay it on us.
This will be my last report to you. I'll get into that a little bit later here. But I'm going to start off with adult education. I think something that gets missed at Fort County is their adult education program that's ran by Mr. Doug Beck. The outreach that he has, and same thing that goes on here at the Hicksville school systems, other communities from around the state reaching out to them, especially on their fire and rescue. Fort County also has a facility in Toledo. They're going to be expanding that facility because of demand. For the most part, adult education runs in the black. Because usually a lot of the courses that is funded by the state, and as long as they complete it and do it, there's minimal financial responsibility of the person that's participating in that. So Doug has his ability and how he's recognized throughout the state says a lot for this area and for career centers. He by far has the #1 in the state of career centers of adult education. Food services, as I've reported over the last 9 years, and prior to me, John McCullough, that's always been an issue for the career center. It does run in the black now. That's thanks to COVID. That is funded. There's a lot more funding from the state for that with the meals. Some of that is being pulled back, but for the last couple of years, that has ran in the black. There have been previous years where that ran, 150, 180,000 in the red. Rooftop HVAC units updates. As reported before, that was going to be completed in 3 phases. Phase 1 is complete due to COVID and not being able to get the components, also the additional cost of everything. The career center is going to combine phase 2 and 3, and the first bid's going to go out for that in the first quarter of next year, and striving for a June 2024 installation, and that will be able to complete. I don't even know what the cost of that was. Originally, that was over $300,000, but everything's come in over bid, so I'm not sure what that total cost is going to be, but it's going to be considerably more than the $300,000 originally budgeted for that. After that, completion of the rooftop units, they're going to start going out for bids for a complete replacement of the roof itself. Last time it was done was in 95 and 96. So it's time again. It's still in good shape now, but by the time this gets done, it'll be another 3 to 5 years down the road. It'll be time to have that all replaced. They do a very good job. Help me out, Jeff. Head of maintenance.
That is Rick.
Rick Hoopy. Mr. Hoopy does do a very good job of looking down the road and forecasting what's going to be needed to be done for the maintenance of that building, and he keeps that building in great shape. One of the other things they have to do is the fire suppression system is outdated, and they're going out for bids right now for all that. That's going to be expensive too. The control panel for that, they can't get parts for it anymore. Yeah, it's around $500,000 for that, for the control panel. So they got some major expenditures coming up. 5-year forecast though, everything's at this point as we speak of December of 2022, no issues, everything's running smooth, they're on budget, they're running in the red or black, so there's no problems there as far as the budget goes at this point in time. They are going to do an updated fixed asset and inventory update later this spring or early this summer. That's time for that to be done again too. And then the 2022, the audit is still in process yet. There's been no flags, but Connie's not very happy they can't get the state to reply or do their end of the bargain. So say that nicely. And currently the school's putting back about $500,000 a year for infrastructure projects that are going to need to be done, because there's fleet vehicles, there's buses, and they're also for that too. So, but otherwise the school's doing good. Mr. Tim Meister's last month is this month, as you guys know. Mr. Jeff Slattery will be taking over. The school's in excellent shape. They got a very good staff. And I know it's only going to get better yet too with the addition of Jeff. So it's been good. I've served there for 9 years, liaison back to the board. This is my last meeting to you. It's been an honor. I've enjoyed it. If you have someone selected prior to our December meeting, which will be the 3rd Thursday, they're more than welcome to ride with me, and I'll introduce them. The one thing I thought when I did it the first time, it's just kind of nice to know everybody and know what you're walking into instead of that first night where you're walking into it. And the reorganizational meeting is going to be actually that person. I didn't make note of that, Jeff. Is that January the 5th?
I believe so.
I think it's January the 5th at 5:30 p.m. if my memory serves me right. I forgot all about that. I didn't write it down because I wasn't going to be there.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so January the 5th at 5:30 p.m., whoever's going to be selected as liaison from the Hicksville board, the organizational meeting will be done. So, and as I say, I go to that last meeting, whoever that person is, if they want to ride with me, they're more than welcome to ride with me. I'll introduce them. But I think there's 3 of us that are going off the board. Out of 11, I think there's 3 of us that are going on. So,
Danny, you have done an awesome job. Thank you.
it's been an
You have
honor
a
to
heart
serve
for
over
them,
there.
and
You know.
It's great.
It's actually going to help free some things up for us now that we couldn't do to help the school out, per se, because I was a board member. So it's going to actually help free some things out with some of the things that need helped with and done over there. So, in our industry, in our business. So,
Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any?
no, I think that's completely up to the board. You guys know your board better than I do.
But somebody that has a 4-county heart.
I would just like to say, Fort County, a shout out to whoever does their social media. They have done an excellent job of highlighting the teachers, the different
Mr. Rick
people,
Bachman
the
does,
students.
or he assists with it. I'm sure he's got
They
somebody
do
helping.
an excellent job. Really enjoyed seeing their posts and stuff.
They keep growing. They just keep really doing good things. It's like everything else. It's no different than the homeschools. They're constantly trying to update and figure out what new technology they need to have to stay on with what's going on in the world. That's always a challenge. And that's always a fiscal challenge. One benefit they have that we don't get here at our district is that gas line runs through their territory. So they get nice revenue off of that gas line, even though some of it's currently in protest by the company. But it's still good revenue that they don't get otherwise. Of course, there's a chance that the state will pull back their funding too because they get that. So we'll see how all that works out. But right now, it's a benefit to the district for sure.
I'm not sure if this person would be interested or not, but they wouldn't have to change the name tags if we give Mr. Eric Better to volunteer. And Eric, didn't you attend at Fort County?
I never did go to Fort County,
I
but
thought
I would
you did.
be, and then happy to discuss it. I'm definitely open to serving there, so.
As it is with this board, they have a very good board. It's very cohesive. We all work together. We have differences of opinion, but when we come out, we're one. It's a good. They really have a good makeup. We're right. So it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure serving over there, and they got really good people. So I thank you,
Thank you.
and I appreciate
We
it.
appreciate you more than you know.
You know, thank you. It's been an honor doing it. It's time for someone else, right? It's time. There's something on TV, or I think it should be. I think with all services, it shouldn't be a lifetime commitment, right? I think there's time to do it, do your service, and I think it's time for the next generation to move on and do it too. So,
Eric, when's that next meeting? The
it'll
December
be the
one?
3rd Thursday of December, whatever that is.
Okay.
So it's
Which would be
6:30
after
p.m.
our meeting, but I don't know.
Thursday, December 15th, 6:30.
Yeah, I was thinking, because we had switched, it changed that it could be somebody off. It originally used to be, had to be somebody from the board, right? And then it changed, it could be someone from the community.
Eric has an interest in it, and I think that's a great idea, and what a great resource he has, just
Just
like
to get
calling Dad.
Yeah, to get started.
You know, and I meant to speak to that. I heard rumors, and this has been over a year ago, that the state was going to change that back again. That the representative was going to have to be from the board, but I haven't heard anything about that since that was Mr. Brian Baker of Liberty Center. He stays up on all that.
So that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just my thoughts, I'd say sign Eric up if he's willing to
Is
do
there anything
it.
else that's thought about it, have any desire to do it?
We can just make that happen at the December meeting, right? But he could attend the meeting ahead of time if you have interest in it. I mean, if you guys are good with that, I say we just do that.
Well, yeah, but we would want to have him
But he
He
could,
went to be,
but he could still attend the
Official,
meeting.
yeah.
He wouldn't be officially marked until.
Couple days later. Okay.
After the organization is going to be official.
okay. That's great, Harry. You're willing.
That works for me.
That's good. That was
So
easy.
two last things. We'll miss you, Denny. Thank you.
Yes.
And I apologize for trying to speak me in. So,
Oh, it was a good day. Keith, you need to call me later with you or something. You say you need to speak to me.
Oh, that was what it was about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that. So,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
thanks,
that was-
everyone.
That was on my report, but don't need to do that now, so, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Jenny, for the years you've served over there, because it's been.
Appreciate it. Goes back
it's
quick.
been great. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate the honor of doing it, not being on the board, for the last 3 years, or 4 years, I think it's been, to be able to serve over there, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Mine will be pretty quick. I was lucky enough to take Kirsten and Aaron to Washington to receive the National Blue Ribbon Award, which was quite an honor and quite an event, and very fortunate to be able to do that. Again, thank you, Kirsten, for all your efforts, you and Aaron, making that all happen. Deputy Hall is serving as an SRO officer for us. He's coming weekly on random days, and this is funded through the Defiance County Sheriff's Office, a grant that they have put together, and they're giving 1 day, providing a school resource officer to each school district in Defiance County for 1 day a week. So he rotates around to different schools, always on a different day typically than the week before. So great to have Deputy Hall here. He's been here a couple times so far, so we're actually meeting with him here in a week or so. And it was kind of unexpected. He just showed up the 1 day. I knew it was supposed to happen, but we didn't know when, so it's been a good thing. Jen and I attended Capitol Conference, still sorting through some of those meetings and stuff that we went to and attended, but valuable, as most of you know, since you've been there before. My other item was Denny, which that's been taken care of. And then another item was the Veterans Program that Kirsten did. I know she spoke about it. She never highlights herself, but I'm telling you that Veterans Program was the best Veterans Program we've had at Hicksville. Thank you, Kirsten. It was wonderful. It really was. So thanks. And then the other item I had is, actually, I don't know if it's a discussion item for later or now, but I'd like to have the December meeting in the barn out back. It's Nathan's classroom, and he wanted to know if you would come out prior to the board meeting, and then ironically, I was contacted by someone that wants to make a donation for that program, and my wheels started turning. It's like, why don't we have it out there? And you guys can see what's been happening out there in that room since September, since we started, and then that presentation can also take place in there where that money will be put to use. So just mark your calendars, and Brian, is it?
Yeah.
Yep, we're going to be in the barn out back for our December board meeting, and I'll make sure media and everybody knows that too. So that is all I have.
thanks, Keith. Okay, try this again. I need a motion for minutes and financials, please.
I'll second.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Minda. Okay. Minutes from the regular board meeting on October 17, 2022. Treasurer's consent agenda items. Cash reconciliation is of October 31, 2022. Financial statements of October 2022. Approve amended official certificate of estimated resources for fiscal year 2023 as presented. Total general fund resources of $15,785,803.60, and total resources for all funds of $20,790,696.60. Approve amended fiscal year 2023 permanent appropriations as presented. Total general fund appropriations of $12,300,327.16, and total appropriations for all funds of $15,399,334.40. Approve fiscal year 2023 5-year forecast as presented. Cash balance as of June 30, 2027, line 7.020 of negative $1,183,096. Mike, you have any input on that for us?
Yes. We're currently sitting in the second year of the Fair School Funding Plan, which is also the second year of this current biennial budget. The plan has been, I guess you could say the design is you don't see necessarily much increase in revenue until you get to the next biennial budget, because they're using old data for the second year of the biennial budget. So that is one thing that's being addressed at with people at the state level, and hopefully that there's some changes there so that it's more up to date and in real time than what we're dealing with. But nevertheless, we still see some positive increases in that line item. The income tax, as we all know, we added the 0.75% back beginning 2020. We continue to have a very strong year. So the first two payments this year were about somewhere near 9% over where we were the same time last year. In the forecast, this year's budget for about a 7.5% increase. Thinking that maybe we won't maintain that 9%, but hopefully we at least stay close to that. The all other revenues, one of the good things going on right now is as far as investment income. We'll probably at least double what we did last year with the increased rates, so that is adding some extra money into the coffers. And also we had a great time a couple years ago to refinance some of our debt, so it's working out great for the school district. Get into the wages and stuff. This year is kind of a unique year because the way the dates fall for payroll, we will actually, typically we have a 26 pays in a year. However, in this fiscal year, there will actually be 27 pays because the first pay was like July 1st and the last pay will be June 30th. So that is forcing our salaries for the fiscal year 23 up by one pay, and which is part of the reasons why it's leading to a small deficit spending of $46,000. So that is in play at this time. We'll go back to 26 pays throughout the forecast. One of the things that is affecting the forecast is we have a number of salaries that were paid for in fiscal year 23, but also some more in 24 that are being paid for by ESSER monies, the COVID-related monies, and some of those that were being paid in 23 will fall off in 24 and then go back to the general fund. Some of them 24, the rest of them are going to fall off in 24, and then those would go back to 25, fiscal year 25 general fund expenditures. Also included in the forecast capital outlay, you'll see it going up and down, up through the 5 years. That is because the years where it's more, the dollar amount is higher is the projection to buy a bus. So that would be fiscal years 23, 25, 27. Although the way it seems like it's going, maybe we will not have to do one this year. Unless Mr. Countryman knows something different at this time. The let's see what else. One of the big things in the forecast is the school district income tax. In the upper half part of the forecast, we cannot assume the renewal of the levy. And so therefore, that line, income tax line 1.030, you will start to see it creep downwards and then quite rapidly into 2025 and 26 and then 27, which then leads to the cash balance of June 30th of 2027, line 7.02, the number that Mr. Methvin stated, the negative 1,183,096. By renewal of the levy, line 1.010 shows those dollars coming back to the district. And with that, then after year 5, the projected balance would be nearly 1.2 million. So definitely would be important, will be important that we renew that. I think that we have done a great job with the presentations we had today, the last month, the things we're doing, addressing the needs of the students of our district. The downfall is it does take money. But obviously the upper hand of that is it makes Hicksville a better community. Makes the residents, the students, the whole community as a whole a much better, stronger place to live. So anyways, I think that the renewal of that levy is going to someday be very important. Any questions? One other thing, there's not much added in here as far as retirements. So obviously, a lot of times somebody retires, they're going to be at the top end of the scale. You bring somebody in, have considerable savings. So not knowing who might be where throughout this, that hasn't really been built in. So that would be something as that goes by, and if we have people retire and then replaced with somebody lower, we will see savings there. So that'll end up helping the forecast as it goes along.
Any other questions for Mike? Anybody? Thanks as always for the great analysis and the detail. Appreciate it. Accept the following donations. $100 from Hicksville Athletic Boosters for girls golf, $125 from Dave Graber for football field paint, $140 from Sheila Baker for football field paint, $200 from SMTA for elementary principal fund, $250 from Sam Switzer Realty for elementary principal fund, $250 from CMS Custom Machine and Fab for elementary principal fund, $250 from Top Timber Tree Service for elementary principal fund, $465 from Jim Schmidt Family of Dealerships for MS Incentives Middle School. Yes. Okay. $500 from the Wholesale House for elementary principal fund, $1,000 from B&K Whitman Enterprises for volleyball, $1,000 from Jim Schmidt Family of Dealerships for elementary principal fund, $3,000 from Hicksville Athletic Boosters for softball field.
Wow.
That's amazing. That really is amazing.
All of those donations are going towards the Christmas stuff that we do in the hallways too. So all of that stuff to the elementary is going back to the students. So
That's a super statement about the community. So.
It is. It just makes me think of like the fireworks show.
Yeah.
What an awesome show for our school from our community. We just appreciate them so much for what they do in so many different ways.
Roll call.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier?
Yes.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
Mr. Methvin?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Need another motion for employment certified staff.
I'll move.
Thanks, Jen.
I'll second.
Thanks, Eric. Recommend to approve the resignation from Jeff Slattery as high school principal effective December 31, 2022.
Well, I just want to start out by saying that Jeff is one of the best hires I've ever made here at Hicksville. I remember Martin Luther King Day in 2013, and things, or actually it was 2014, I think. Things happened here at the school, some things happened, and we needed a new high school principal. And I remember secretly calling Mr. Slattery and asked him if he was still interested in an administrative position here at Hicksville, and he said he was, and so I met him here later in the evening. It was late because I didn't want anybody to see. I'm pretty good, I would say, this even with the camera rolling. When I see something I want, I go try to steal it from other schools if I can. Obviously, Jeff was a great asset for our district. He was given a task by me to live up to my vision for the district, and what an outstanding job he has done with that, as well as my other administrators too that we put together. An outstanding member of our administrative team who is greatly going to be missed. But we wish him the best in his new endeavor. I knew this day was coming because he was had started his superintendent classes, and it's obvious that the next progression would be for him to be a superintendent somewhere. And I didn't think it was going to happen quite this fast, but it did. And I'm sure he's going to do a great job at Fort County, and he'll be one of my peers now with me. So, yeah, in a different way. Thank you, Jeff, and congratulations, really.
Thanks, boss.
Yes.
They'll be lucky to get you. So.
You have been a joy.
Yeah, take it
Board
easy.
meetings. You have been,
I'll give my final call at the next board meeting. How about that? I appreciate everything, though, and couldn't ask for a better boss to work with, and board and community. And I don't think people realize this. Keith's right. When he called me, my wife and I actually just sold our house in Hicksville, and we were renting, and we were preparing to move either to Crestview School District or to Delphus to work. My wife worked in Fort Wayne, so I was driving the line every day. So that phone call came at a very good time, and I was awfully excited to be able to keep my kids in this school district, and of course they'll continue to go to school here. But we'll save all the sappy stuff for later. This place is awesome, and I'm really going to miss it, so let's just leave it at that.
I'm excited, just like with Andy, that you will have a broader reach now, and that you will be able to affect even more kids than just Hicksville. So it's like we get to share you.
That's a great perspective, I guess, to have. I appreciate that.
Remember, you'll be a marketing tool for us.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you this right now, and that's one thing about like Hicksville, and Keith and Kirsten will tell you for years, and Angie, if she's paying attention, I'm sorry, I apologize. But it's like, a lot of times when the administrators speak, we always wonder if the people are really listening to us or not. But it's like, I always say that we're our biggest advocates, every single person in this district, and what we say, because we all are employed somewhere, and we all have our good days and bad days, and the things we like and don't like. But I'll tell you what, I think the administrative team, especially here at Hicksville, every meeting we go to, whether it's a local meeting, a regional meeting, you go down to Capitol Conference, I go to my OASSA, it's like, I say nothing but great things. We got our challenges, but this is an amazing place. Look what we've accomplished, and this is why. And it's true. It's all true. And if you get your staff to buy into that, and now we have 127 advocates for our district, that's a lot of voices and a lot of, spreading that word. And that's why we have so many schools from so far away still contacting us saying, what are you guys doing? How do you do this? And it's not easy, but it takes a team. We got a good one.
And you can bring lots of ideas back and share with us. Things that you see and hear and learn.
Yes, yeah, that's very, very true.
Keep sharing.
Yeah.
All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Carrier?
Yes.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
And Mr. Methvin?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Need another motion, please.
I'll move.
Thanks, Minda. Thanks, Steph. Recommend to approve the resignation from Lucas Smith as head football coach. Recommend to approve the following as a volunteer coach for the 2022-2023 school year. Paul Payne, indoor track. Recommend to approve Kayla Reed as a certified substitute for the 2022-2023 school year.
Don't like reading these doggone resignations, right? And Lucas Smith, my goodness, what an asset he's been for our school and for our football team and our young men that have been able to experience his program are some lucky guys. So,
And and not just here, but when he goes out and speaks to other areas, and even some of my students, they've listened to him speak.
Yeah. Great person. Thankfully, he's not taking a coaching position somewhere else, so we're not losing. But I certainly understand, when you do something that long and sometimes you just recognize when it's time to take a little break or a pause. And who knows, Lucas, you might be back in there someday, but he just, it was time. He wanted to take a little break. He misses not being able to see his kids who are now competing in other sports, and a lot of those would be at the same time as football games, and he had to miss his own kids' things, and I certainly sympathize with that. So, but great loss for our football
I'm extremely
program.
grateful that he's still teaching here, though, that his influence is still here, and that he still has that ability to impact our students. Obviously, not just the football team, all of our students.
Right.
But he has made lifelong changes.
Oh,
in a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
those
Yeah.
kids'
He's an example in every way, every shape, form, and fashion of that word.
every way. We have been blessed.
yes, we have.
Roll call.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur,
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier,
Yes.
Mr. Vetter,
Yes.
and Mr. Methvin.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Need a motion for employment and classified staff.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you, Jen. Recommend to approve the following classified substitutes for the 2022-2023 school year. Paula Campbell, Mary Glass. Recommend to approve the following supplemental contracts for the 2022-2023 school year. James Egley, head junior high wrestling coach. Gabe Inkrot, assistant archery coach. Melissa Sanders, assistant archery coach.
Just a quick little comment. Mary Glass actually drove the school bus for us, so she drives somewhere else as well, and so we've added her as a substitute bus driver, which has been a great thing. And lucky us, because they're hard to come by.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Vetter,
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur,
Yes.
and Mr. Methvin.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Need a motion for other business, please. Thanks, Minda.
I'll second.
Thanks, Steph. Recommend to approve the following athletic department issue for the 2022-2023 school year. Involvement in indoor track events at no cost to the school district. Recommend to approve the Aces Pride Marching Band proposal to attend a trip to St. Louis, Missouri from June 5 to June 7th, 2023. Roll call.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur,
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier,
Yes.
Mr. Vetter,
Yes.
and Mr. Methvin.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. And another motion, please. Thanks, Jen.
I'll second.
Thanks, Minda. Recommend to approve. What's the date? What date?
Was it 11?
11th. All right.
No.
Wednesday, the 11th, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was confused, December.
Recommend to approve January 11th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m.
Are we gonna do our whole meeting then?
Yeah, because that's what we usually do.
And that is on a Wednesday, not a Monday. As the date and time for the 2023 organizational board meeting. And appoint.
Are you willing to do it another year?
As long if you guys are if you guys are fine with it, I'm fine with
2
it.
years is a good.
It's easier.
Yeah.
You just get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, great.
See, I knew somebody. I was waiting for somebody to speak up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm a lucky guy
Myself.
with all 5 of you guys. I've worked, have you been board president?
Yes.
I think so, since I was here. Yeah, it's been great. Not Eric yet, but I've certainly enjoyed having Eric on the board as well as a member, so I'm a lucky guy.
Okay, so we're appointing Galen Nethman as president pro tem. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Carrier,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur,
Yes.
Mr. Vetter,
Yes?
and Mr. Methvin.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Any old business team?
No, but I want to say those fans definitely do their job.
Good.
The fans definitely do their jobs.
It makes a difference.
Yes,
in the-
indeed. I can tell.
Big buddy fans, that's right.
Yes, fans. I was hoping I was going to
At
get
the
you to
Bible game, it's awesome. Trying to move away from there too cold.
It should be.
You had to turn them off.
Yeah, it was actually cold.
But now that it's colder, you really notice the difference down there in the commons and the hall.
Well, at the meeting for the senior trip, you can tell a big difference in there. I hadn't been in there in the meeting.
So the big butt fans are.
All right.
Instead of fat bottom girls, we got big butted fans.
All right. Anything else to discuss?
I wanted to talk a little bit about Capitol Conference. So I got to go down with Keith and we had a great time. One of my favorite things was the, good and bad, was the delegates meeting. The Ohio School Board Association's Teacher of the Year came and spoke, and she talked to us about the book, The World Needs More Purple People. And she talked briefly about it. I highly recommend getting it, reading it. She said it was very neat, and it talked about. She talked about as we were getting ready to vote, the red side and the blue side. When you take the best of both sides and come together, you get purple people. So that was kind of neat. The delegates meeting was long, and I don't think I'll ever do that again. I am very,
She
very
was not a
grateful.
happy camper, was she?
I was not. I was very grateful that we live in a rural community. Very grateful. So two of the major amendments, both were voted out. That the board or the OSBA platform are not going to address either of those issues. I was shocked really by some of the comments that were made there. That board members got up and said, just flabbergasted me. And they actually said they had the most people there in recent history. We had 338 delegates present, and I was so frustrated after several hours. I got up and left by it. And again, I'm just so grateful to be here and to have this board and to have our administration. A couple of things I did want to talk about though. Title IX, I don't know if any of you've heard, the federal Title IX, thankfully that is still on hold. Ohio is one of the states that came with a lawsuit against it. So that's still on hold, which I feel is a good thing. Another thing that they did talk about and was I did a lot of policy updates and that type of thing, and one of them was that the virtual meetings. So school boards cannot have our meetings virtually. If one of us is absent, that we could essentially attend the board meeting virtually, but you're not there in official capacity and you can't vote virtually. But they also mentioned that if we had any policies in place that we had placed because of COVID, that we need to look about if we need to rescind any of those. And then they talked about financial messaging and passing levies, and one of the things that I thought was interesting was they really stressed the daily cost to educate a student and the breakdown of that, and how that really spoke to voters, that, you know, it cost, I think $68 was the average that it cost school boards across, you know, and then it showed the breakdown of that, and they said that was something that voters really could identify with. I did speak with Eric before I went down, and so I was able to actually check in with two of the vendors that were there. He had mentioned previously that he had wrote for grant money on some safety issues, and so I checked with him, and so two of the four vendors that he was actually looking at using in his safety grant were there. So we got to go and I got to talk with them and look into the products that Eric was looking at, and they were really neat. I'm really excited about some of the stuff that he's looking at getting into. So hopefully the grant money comes through. And as of when we were there, I know that the grant money hadn't, because he forewarned the people that I was coming and had told them that no, the money wasn't there because he was checking daily, which I totally believe Eric was. So, yeah, so that was it. Overall, good information. So, yeah, not doing the delegate thing again.
Well, on behalf of all of us, thank you very much for
remembering
that.
Yeah.
Did you get the vote, the piece of paper?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
They called for a roll call vote.
Yes, I heard. Fort County's representative down there said it was probably the worst.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for 17 years.
Last year was terrible too. We had to vote with the paper, hold it up, and they counted multiple times. It was awful.
Yeah,
What they were
it
voting on was like ridiculous.
The board member I talked to the next morning, he said if children in our school district saw what went on in that meeting, that we would all be ashamed to be a board member. It was that bad. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So, and the thing was, it was just about our platform. It's just about what they were going to, advocate for us or against or lobby for it, and that's all it was about.
Yeah, but that lobbying is a big deal.
Not doing it. And especially because, you spend so much time in there, and I'm like, there was a really good policy one that I wanted to get to, hoping we would be done in time. So, anyways, Purple People, recommend you read it. That teacher was outstanding. We got to listen to her talk about it. She was really good.
I thought you were going to say the world needs more volunteers. That's a UT tagline, by the way.
No. Good try.
That was your quarterback.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
That was painful.
It was. You know what? Life goes on. I feel bad for it. I feel bad for it.
That's really sad.
Life will go. All right. No one announced guests. Next order of business, the motion to go into executive session. We won't make any decisions thereafter.
I'll second.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Linda.
Joe, can you check and see what they're asking?
Yeah.
And we'll go in can we go in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, Brian, you just have to take your stuff, right? No mics today, so should take
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we'll go in at 6:55.
Mrs. Carrier?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Mazer?
Yes.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
And Mr. Methvin?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0.